Welcome back to Legends in the Making. My name is Erin Sarles Bowers, strategist, spiritual mentor, and CEO of a Christ-centered transformation. This show is where we talk about not just leadership, but we're talking about how to redefine it from the inside out. And in today's episode, this really is for every leader who's found themselves building, scaling, or for you parents, but still waking up with a deeper whisper of burnout in their soul. Like, why do we feel that burnout? Why do we feel that misalignment? Why do we feel that tiredness? Maybe you feel like you're doing all the things right and you're just like, something feels off. This isn't laziness. This isn't weakness. This is a sign. This is a sign that you are leading from unalignment, from a place of panic. And it's time to return yourself to true power by realigning yourself with the truth of who you are. So, panic, any energy, any emotion has a frequency to it. So, and I see this often. Panic is not a leadership strategy. It's not a parenting strategy. It's not a strategy. When we're in panic mode, that's the time where we absolutely should be taking a step back and really reevaluating what is going on. Because there's so many universal laws that are play when we are in the energy of panic. And when I think of panic, whether I see this in my coaching in corporate America, or I look at the conversations I have with parents around parenting and leading their young children, this comes from a place of rapid fire decisions. Like, I see this all the time. And I remember my mom saying, hurry or haste is of the devil. Like, when you just are in panic mode, I just got to solve this problem. Okay, this will solve the problem, and not taking any time to really reflect, go deep, look at the root cause of what's going on versus just trying to put the Band-Aid on it. How many of us just want to make decisions because we think if we make that decision, we'll put the Band-Aid on it. Well, guess what? We live in the universe of cause and effect, or we live in the universe in a different terms is we reap what we sow. So if we're sowing seeds of panic, we can only reap more panic. We can only reap the fruits of that energy. So rather than slowing down and taking a good account to how this should be, we plant the seed in haste and then we expect it to have the most prosperous fruit, but we're not looking at the point of which we created or planted that seed. You'll see panic in team misalignment. You'll see it in bad cultures within organizations. Everybody's panicked. Everybody's worried about how to just make money, and they're feeding off the boss or the owner that is always in a mode of desperation. You're going to be short-tempered. You might have a shortness of breath, and you confuse movement with momentum. A lot of times what I see is people acting, thinking this is going to solve the problem versus really understanding, where am I at? Why am I in a state of panic? What needs to be solved here? That's where we have to start addressing problems versus just go get into action. Well, when things are of a low frequency, you can't expect high frequency outcomes. And if you're not willing to look at what's causing that disalignment, you're not going to have a different outcome as a result of that. What if you took a day or two and slowed down? That's not going to stifle your results 3, 6, 10 months down the road. But if you're always in haste at making decisions and Here's more employee turnover. Here's, this consequence of that decision. Here's the consequence of that decision. You're delaying or pushing out the fruits of good labor if you had planted the seed properly to begin with, and then watered it daily with good energy that understands, I actually took the time to really understand what's going on, and now I get to reap the benefits of that. When you lead from panic, you forfeit precision, you forfeit good quality outcomes because you're just in panic mode. Why do we default to panic mode? Part of it is a childhood conditioning. We don't want to fall behind. When you're a little child and you're like, and then it's like walking around, being slow, doing whatever. And then it's like, oh my gosh, like I got to hurry up. I got to be up there with my family, or, I might get left behind. Like, we have been conditioned into not wanting to be left behind. And we have those programs running. Even though we become adults, we still have those programs running within us. So sometimes there's a good check-in of like, who's really running this moment right now? Is it my 5-year-old self? Is it my 25-year-old self? Is it my 45-year-old self? Who's in charge right at this moment? And if my 5-year-old self's in charge, that's probably not going to be the person making the best decision, or maybe they are because they're creative and innocent and free. So check in. Who's your decision maker in this present moment? We also live in a society that hustle equals honor. Like, if I'm working like this whole, like, I work so hard, I'm burnt out, I'm overworked, I'm work. And people are like, yeah, that's amazing. Really? Aren't we here to be creators? Aren't we here that's our true essence, is we are to be creators. Because we're created in the image and likeness of God. God was a creator. He created the universe. He created us. We are here to do the same thing. God wasn't created to hustle. God's in divine perfect balance. We're supposed to come into that perfect balance. We're supposed to come into the perfect balance of who we are, and then we can go act from that space. And when we act from that space, it becomes effortless because it's just ease. There's an ease and a flow and a peace to it. When people are like, I'm in the flow, it's because you've kind of removed the mental activity and you're just starting to go with what the universe is gifting to you. And you're just going along with the currents or tides or the frequencies of energy and really moving in that direction. When we think about faith drifts, operating like orphans instead of aligned heirs. When do we act like, poor me, I'm, so victimized, versus like, I'm the creator of my reality. The real work that we have to do is to take complete and full ownership of who we are. Like, that's being Christ-like, that's being God-like, that is knowing I'm the creator of this. I get to change this. I am not victimized by anyone or anything. I am the heir to God's kingdom. Do I act like I'm the heir to God's kingdom? Or do I act like I'm the orphan that God put out in the cold and all these bad things are happening to me? Victimhood is a mentality. If you can look at everything as a gift from God to grow you and to find the lesson in it, you will unlock the most incredible life that you have ever had. But are you willing to do that work? Are you willing to step up? Are you willing to take ownership? You can't build an empire in panic but you won't be able to rest. You can build an empire in panic, but you won't be able to rest in it. You can. We see it all the time. You can get stuff done, but most of the time, the longevity, the quality, the stability just don't there. So you can never rest. So what are things that I do that help leaders or athletes or parents come back into alignment with who they are? First, we want to return to our natural cadence or our natural rhythm. So we have the law of rhythm. If you watch our universe, we see these principles all over the place. We have a natural rhythm to the way that life flows. And are we in the flow with the universe? Are we in the flow with how Mother Nature cycles? We have moon cycles. We have seasons. Everything ebbs and flows. The tide comes in and tide goes out. Like everything is operating in a rhythm. So we also have rhythm to our lives. So how do we connect to that pace that feels intrinsically in line with who they are? So things that I'll do is I'll sit, I'll breathe in for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 8, and just really reconnect to what is the divine pace you want me to operate from? What is the divine pace you want me to operate from? And connect in with that. Leadership isn't a sprint. Parenting isn't a sprint. Life isn't a sprint. Any role that we fulfill isn't a sprint. There is a concerted cadence for us to fall into. And we don't get to override the downturns. Those are seasons to learn. Just like we need winter to hibernate, to shed stuff that we don't need. We then get to come into spring of bringing what we learned into our gifts. We have to honor every place that we are. Neglecting what you're feeling is not helping you grow. So taking the time to really understand that is so vital and so important. Once you understand what's your divine pace, then understanding how do you reclaim your standard. You don't need to prove your leadership. You don't need to prove your parenting. You need to embody it. Who am I? What's my standard for the way that I show up? Am I showing up that way? If I'm not showing up that way, what are the things that I do to ensure that at every moment I can be in the standard that I expect of myself? Because when I'm in my standard, I give everybody else access to stepping into their standard. And honestly, panic might want to peek his head in, but really alignment is going to carry the day. Your alignment will not even allow panic to creep in because you're so tapped into who you are, because you're embodying it, that you won't even have to worry about that coming up. It becomes effortless. When you truly do the work to step into who you truly are and why you do what you do and what are the underlying things to look at that trigger you, that put you into panic mode, those are the moments where you have the greatest gold to dig up and uncover. Because once you unveil that, you now take all the energy out of that and you're never going to lead from that place or parent from that place again. But those triggers are the greatest gift that we can be gifted, because it's teaching us something that we need to solve for that isn't true within ourselves. It doesn't resonate truth with who we are. And ultimately, we get to solve that so we don't ever have that thing trigger us again to go into panic mode. And then you want to lead from a place of infinite abundance because we live in a universe that's infinitely abundant. There is nothing lacking in the universe. I know we see social media, all these things, lack, panic, 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 but the universe is infinitely abundant. It is abundance. It's all knowing, it's all loving, it's all good. It's everything. There is no lack. So how do we get into a state of overflow to understand there is nothing lacking? We're here to be creators, so we need to create and solve the problem. So when you lead from overflow through reclaiming your divine pace, through understanding that you are here to embody who you are and to drop the things or learn through the things that don't serve you, that trigger you. And then you start to become magnetic. Things start to get drawn to you because you're operating from a state of presence versus from a state of panic or lack. So it's so incredibly important when you uncover this. And when you uncover this, and this is the deep work that I do, because when I do this with clients, they 10x their results because they're actually acting from their highest state of being. They're more productive. They work less. They're more effective. They get more clients. They get more sales because it's being drawn into them based on who they are, not what they're doing. Because we also have energetic blocks that inhibit us from stepping forward and into life. So I work with a lot of executives and a lot of salespeople that it's like, I don't like making that call. Then you have to uncover what's holding you back from doing that. And what's the way that you want to then do it? Do you feel aligned with what you're doing? Do you feel like that's your calling or your purpose? Are you forcing or doing those things because you want a net outcome that is disaligned from who you are as a person? God wants to overlay you with riches beyond your wildest imagination if you serve his purpose for your life. But are you serving your purpose for your life? And when you're disaligned, that should be an indicator you're not serving your purpose. Because in flow, in purpose, everything feels easy. It feels magnetic. It feels effortless. So where in your life are you mistaking motion or action for mastery? Where are you making the mistake of doing is more important than who I am being? And what would change if your decisions were made from peace instead of pressure? Take a moment, journal, sit in silence, ask yourself those questions. And you will uncover so much. Panic doesn't make you powerful. Alignment does. You were never meant to chase. You were designed to command. And leadership reveal who you are in any given moment. And it helps you become presenced. Alignment is your frequency. Legacy is your lane. If you are ready to lead from power, from the essence of who you are, and not panic, not conditioning, not societal constructs, DM me the word power for my 5-day executive reset. DM me. I want to hear from you. Let's get you aligned and get you leading so that we have a better world.